Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, your weekly women's tennis podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. Before we get started, a quick reminder to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and or your favourite podcast provider. And of course, sign up to the Betting Weekly Studios weekly newsletter for the best picks from all our soccer and sports handicappers. I'm Rory Jiwani. With me is Nigel Seeley to look forward to this week's two WTA tournaments. We've got the 500 in Strasbourg and the 250 in Rabat. And of course, the second slam of the year, the French Open, gets underway at Roland Garros next Sunday. Nigel, how are you? Bit of a sore head this morning, perhaps?
I've lost my voice. That's the one thing I have lost. I was at Wembley yesterday to watch Crystal Palace win the FA Cup, a sensational day of sport. A few celebrationary drinks were had after, but not many. I was just, it was a great day, and I've lost my voice singing so much. So I apologise if I sound a little bit ropey this morning, but that is the reason why. But yeah, look, I mean, it's not the highlight of the FA Cup final yesterday was exceptional. I don't think we're going to see such scenes in these two tennis tournaments this weekend, but obviously the countdown to the French Open is the most important, and what it was an epic week last week in Rome as well, sort of some indications for the French Open. So this one here, I just think you've got to go in very, very cautiously, and I'll come on to that sort of staking approach when we preview these two. Not the best tournaments. One of them's okay, but the other one not the best.
Yeah, Jasmine Paolini victorious in Rome. Iga Swiatek out of the world's top four. One of the headlines from there. Sabalenka obviously beaten in the semi-finals by Coco Gauff. I've got that right. God, my memory's failing me, but yeah, Gauff was brilliant. I expected Gauff to win the final, but she ran into Paolini, who I backed last year for Rome, of course. I picked her and got it wrong. She hadn't had a great record in Rome until this year, and she hadn't shown that much form this year either. I mean, she's just recently changed coaches, and we said she might struggle to repeat the heroics from last year, but now she's won a second 1,000.
Yeah, on home turf as well. It could be an incredible week for Italian tennis. I mean, she's in the women's doubles final currently with Virani. She's won the women's title. You got Sinner up against Alcaraz as well. So tennis in Italy is booming. And it was a brilliant tournament. I was very fortunate to be there last week, and it was an absolute brilliant tournament. It's one of the best stop-offs in the tour. And it really sort of shows some indication for the French Open. And I think sometimes we look at the French Open, look at the clay court season and think to yourself, do we take much into what we see going into the season? And sometimes I'll say don't take too much into it. But I think there's a couple of players in this women's draw who really, really, really are struggling. Iga Swiatek is one of those people. I mean, 4 weeks ago, we were sitting here saying that Iga Swiatek is going to be a -$2 favourite to win the French Open. She's now +240. She's not even favourite. And really, on current form, should she be in second favourite? I don't think she should. Drastically out of form. Rebecca, who's in action this week as well, is another player that is really, really struggling. And the emergence of Coco Gauff this week, the emergence of Paolini, and also I thought Zheng, the Olympic champion, played exceptionally well last week. Just ran into Gauff and lost a final set tiebreak. But the women's game is strong at the moment, and we went into a major thinking this is going to be a very, very heavily one-sided looking at Iga Swiatek, but there is maybe 6, 7, 8 players now at the top of that market who can win that title. So we've got all that to look forward to next week. The draw is in midweek. I think it's Thursday, the draw. And then we'll be covering next week. So I'm looking forward to it. But this tournament here is all about just keeping the powder dry, not going too big, just seeing who's just coming there for max practice and who's taking it very seriously. And I think my headline to take from this one is keep the stakes very small this week before we head to Paris next week.
Yeah, of course, Sabalenka lost to Qinwen Zheng in Rome, and then Zheng lost to Gauff. I think first time Sabalenka's lost to Zheng. I think we were actually covering that match a bit on the live show on Wednesday, weren't we, Sabalenka? And you went for the +4.5 games for Zheng, and that cashed, and she won on the money line as well, of course. But Strasbourg, let's have a look to the first of this week's tournament. Actually getting underway a bit later today, the main draw. One of these tournaments, we've had a few of them recently where the draws come out late and then the odds come out even later, and it's just very hard to get going on it early enough for you guys. But we're going to do what we can with Strasbourg. We do have odds, but those won't be live when this show it sort of goes live. So what we'll do is we'll try and put up some predictions and hopefully the odds won't have changed too much by the time the market goes live.
Judging by our year so far, they'll get bigger. So it'll be better. It's going to be better. It's going to be better for people to wait.
Exactly. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a lean time at present, but as you say, this week is probably best to not to go overboard on this, it being the last week before the Slam. But Strasbourg last year, Madison Keys won it, and it has thrown up a Roland Garros winner in the past in Barbara Krejcikova back in 2021. Krejcikova, who's actually making her first appearance of the year here in Strasbourg. Going back 2023, Elina Svitolina was victorious against Anna Blinkova. Angelique Kerber won the 2022 final. And I said about 2021, Krejcikova beating Sorana Cirstea. Svitolina won it in 2020, beating Jelena Rybakina in the final. Weather-wise, quite fair all week, sort of low to mid-20s Celsius. So that's mid-70s Fahrenheit. Conditions-wise, speed of the courts-wise, these are probably as close to the conditions at Roland Garros as the players are going to get this year. I mean, Rome was fairly similar. Service hold percentage in Rome was low 63s. Last year, Strasbourg was 62.5 compared to 61.9 at Roland Garros. It's usually very much in line with the tournament in Paris. As we say, it's the last week before a Slam, so a lot of the big names are absent. The main exceptions are here in Strasbourg. We've got Jessica Pegula, who's the number 1 seed, Emma Navarro, Paula Badosa, and Jelena Rybakina. I've mentioned Krejcikova, and we've got Daria Kasatkina. Nigel, any early thoughts on this tournament, the sort of player we need to be looking for here?
Well, I went through some of the trends. Number 1 seeds do not do very well in this tournament. You've got to go back to 2010 since you found the last number 1 seed. And obviously that positioning in the calendar in recent years shows you that this tournament, the number 1 seed may come here and just try and get a little bit of prep in before the French Open. They don't want to peak too early. That is always the sort of kind of advice I have. But big players have won it. A lot of seeded players. Keys was seeded 4. Svitolina was unseeded when she won in 2023. Kerber was a number 2 seed. Svitolina in 2020 was a number 2 seed. Krejcikova was 5. Jastrzębska won it as a number 6 seed. So going back to 2016, everyone who's won it, barring one, has been a seeded player. But the number 1 seed hasn't got a good record in this tournament at all. So bear that in mind if you're looking at Jess Pegula, who is the second favourite with Bet Rivers. Elena Rybakina is the tournament favourite at plus 350. Now on current form, she's in absolutely turmoil her game. I watched her match against Andreescu in Rome firsthand. Last Sunday they played, and she got annihilated 6-2, 6-4 as a minus $5 favourite there, and she was blitzed, and she doesn't look right. She made so many unforced errors. I don't think the courts will be as quick enough. That she needs it quicker and faster. The weather will help her speed up a little bit, but I don't think it was going to help her. She looked ropey in her first match against Lai, the young German girl. She won the first set 7-6, but the opportunity for the German to win that, she had loads of opportunities. In Madrid, she got battered by Svitolina, 6-3, 6-4 again, as a favourite. And there's problems, massive problems with Rybakina. Something doesn't look right with her. She's always got injuries. She's always got some kind of colds or illnesses. And at the moment, her game is all over the place. So at plus 350, for me, she is a fade, and the number 1 seed is a fade because I've told you the statistics of the number 1 seed. So if we look at the sections of the draw, the first quarter, all the top 4 seeds will get a bye to round 2. So the Pegula will get a bye to round 2, and she'll run into some decent players in her quarter. Collins, Raducanu, she's decent as far as I'm concerned. She's not a champion. Sophie Kenin, Kasatkina, I think will probably beat Raducanu in round 1. That's a pick and match with Bet Rivers. So that's the progression through to the semi-final from one of those. Q2 sees Badosa, Samsonova. Other than that, Leylah Fernandez, it's a pretty weak second section. Q3 is where I think is the weakest section because you have Rybakina, who I've just said I want to fade for very many reasons. Barbara Krejcikova is the other seeded player here who hasn't played for a year. So Q3 definitely gives us a potential to get an underdog or someone at a big price through to the semi-finals. And Q4 has Navarro, Clara Towson, Hajjad Maya, who's not in great form but a capable player on this surface as well, Magdalena Freck. So At the top half of the draw, I can see Kazatkina or Badosa coming through, and I think whoever wins that will come through to make the semi-finals. If you look at the head between Kazatkina and Badosa, it's 3 wins apiece, and it'll be a pick and match for me to get through. So I'm not going to call the path of the player through there, but I think we're going to attack Q3. This is where I think we've got to go. Rybakina, fade. Krejcikova, I mean, she's a former French Open champion. She's an exceptional talent on clay, but to come here with the year off, I think it's going to be very, very hard for her to show some kind of form that we've seen her win majors. And where the opportunity lies is in her first round opponent, Magda Linette, the world number 32. Linette is a very, very heavy favourite to beat Krejcikova in the matches. I think she's around about $2 to win that match. Minus $2, sorry. She has a proven record in this tournament. She's a 2-time quarterfinalist. She's got a very, very good clay record. Last year, she had an exceptional clay court season. She won 2 clay court events. So she got to the final of 2 clay courts. She won in Prague at the Live Sport Prague Open. And she got to the final of the Rouen event, where she got beat by Sloane Stephens in the final there. But she played well in that final. She should have probably won it. This year, her clay court form hasn't been that great. She's only won 1 of her 3 matches, but she's run into some very difficult opponents. She got beat by Coco Gauff last week in Rome, 7-5, 6-3. And she got beat by Zachary, who on her day is capable of beating anybody. So the draw hasn't been that great for her. But this gives her a brilliant opportunity to go through a section which I think that the 2 seeded players are well worth a fade. So my main tip and a small tip, I'm going to go over 1/4 a point each way this week, just because it's the week before a major, is Magda Linette, the Polish girl. She's 33-1 with Bet Rivers, and I think we've got to attack that third quarter where we've got vulnerable seeded players in Krejcikova and Rybakina, and I think Magda Linette is the girl.
Yeah, I was thinking very much along the same lines, to be honest. I thought Kenin was interesting in the top half, but she's up against Danielle Collins first up, and that would be Pickham. Bottom half, yeah, it's definitely the weaker. I mean, even Q4 looks weak as well. And so I thought Towson might be interesting. But Q3, I mean, the draw could not have been much kinder for Linette. Obviously, you say Krejcikova first up. Then, either Yulia Putintseva, who's really out of form, or Rebecca Sramkova. And you could definitely see, if Linette played Sramkova, Linette would just force errors from Sramkova all day long. And then Rybakina in the quarters, who, as you say, she's just not playing very well. And these conditions really don't suit her. It's sort of slow clay for Rybakina. And then you're in the semi-finals. The bottom quarter looks pretty open as well. So, yeah, I think Linette is definitely the value. In Q4, I mean, you can make a similar case for her compatriot Magdalena Freck, who also won a tournament on clay last year. I think she's $33 as well. But I think Linette's draw is kind, and I'll row in along with you with Linette. So we'll make that 1/2 point each way on Magda Linette.
If she plays Putintseva in the second round, which is
she's
possible.
Out of form.
She's out of form, Putintseva, and she also leads 6-3 in the head-to-head record there as well. So she's got an overall. I think Krejcikova is someone who I think you've got a great chance to beat. And then in round 2, you play a girl who you've got 6-3 head-to-head lead. Then you potentially play an out of sorts Rybakina. I know it's going to be tough, and she's going to be a big dog there, but she's an out of sorts Rybakina who you've got a great chance of beating. She hasn't beaten her before, but on this surface and with the former Rybakina, you got her, and then you're into the semi-finals. So I think the minimum I can see her doing is getting to the quarterfinals, and hopefully we can get Rybakina beat before she reaches that stage, which isn't 1,000,000 to 1 with the way that she's playing at the moment.
Absolutely, and for Krejcikova as well. I mean, first tournament back, obviously she's going to be thinking of the French Open, so she's not going to be going eyeballs out here. It's going to be sort of a gentle sort of return to action, and you can see why Linette's quite a heavy favourite for that match. So all looks good for the poll on paper. So we're going to make it 1/2 point each way on Magda Linette in Strasbourg. Moving on to the second tournament this week, it's the 250 in Rabat. One thing to note here, most of all, the courts are very slow here in Morocco, among the slowest on the tour. Last year, the service hole percentage was 57.5. And we actually picked the winner last year We actually picked the winner of both of these tournaments last year, if memory says. We had Keys in Strasbourg, we had Peyton Stearns in Rabat, and she beat Maya Sherif in the final last year. The year before that, Lucia Bronzetti edged out Julia Grabher. 2022, Martina Trevisan, not sure what's happened to her recently. She beat Claire Liu in the final. The last final before that was in 2019, where Maria Sakkari beat Jo Konta. Elise Mertens, previous winner, Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Elina Svitolina won this tournament back in 2015. So that's a decade ago. Nice weather all week, mid-20s Celsius. So that's mid to high 70s Fahrenheit. But in recent years, the quality of the field hasn't been up to much. And this year is no exception. Elena Avanesian is the top seed. She's seeded to meet Victoria Tomova in the quarterfinals. In Q2, Anne Lee and Varvara Gracheva, they're seeded to face each other. Katerina Siniakova against Lucia Bronzetti in Q3. And in Q4, last year's runner-up Maya Sherif could face Camila Osorio. Tricky, Nigel.
It is tricky. It's a very difficult one. And at 250 before a major is not a tournament that I like to really get heavily involved in, it, especially when you look at the list of the contenders here. I mean, it's not the who's who of the world of tennis. It's the who knows these players. Who knows these players of the world tennis. Siniakova is the favourite at plus 550s. That shows you what kind of tournament we have here. But if you go back through some trends, let's have a look at some trends here. The last 4 years, it's been won by an unseeded player. The last number one seed to win here was Mertens in 2018. So it is a tournament that could throw up some shocks. So I firstly looked at some players that I thought who were unseeded, because unseeded players do exceptionally well. So looked at players who were unseeded and thought, could they give us a run for our money? In the top quarter, we have an Avanesian against Tomova, potentially. But I think Tomljanovic, the Aussie girl, has a bit of a say in that quarter. She's on this graphic there at 20-1 to win the tournament. I think she's minus 250 to win her first round match against the seeded player. So she's expected to go through. And I think if you're looking for an unseeded player, you may get an unseeded player into the final in the top half of the draw. And there was two that I quite liked. Tomljanovic was one of them. And Katie Volonets, who does well in these low-level tournaments, is a decent clay court player. She's in Q2. She's got a tough opener against Lee, the number 4 seed, but she does have a 2-0 head-to-head winning record against her. So if you're looking for an unseeded player, I think the top half is where we want to go for the unseeded players. On the balance of the draw, I would say that the top half is probably easier than the bottom half. I think the bottom half is full of proper clay quarters. In these slow conditions, it will suit Camila Osorio. She'll like these conditions. 16-1, I thought was a big price for her. Maya Sherif was the beaten finalist last year. I think she's going to go deep in this tournament. And then you've got lots of other. Siniakova, the tournament favourite as well. So I think the bottom half is definitely tougher than the top half of the draw. So I was looking at a couple. I do think Volonets and Tomljanovic will give you a run for your money if you're going for that trend to continue of unseeded players winning this tournament. But in the bottom half of the draw, I've gone for Maya Sherif here to win the tournament at plus 750. It's not the kind of price I want to I would really want to be taking. You know, it's a short price in a tournament where it is very, very open. But I do think that her route here is pretty easy. I mean, she starts off as against Roos, who is a decent player, but I wouldn't expect her to do much in this match here. She then has a potential of playing a couple of Osorio will wait into the quarterfinals. I think she's got enough to beat her. And the slower, the better for her. And I think at plus 750, she would be the way that I would be looking at a winner here. The weather's perfect all week. It's in the mid-70s. It'll be perfect weather. Gets a little bit hotter as the week goes on, which will be no problem for her. She'll like it slow, hot, perfect. She's a heavy favourite to start with. I think she's like minus $3 to beat Roos in the first round. So she should come through that fairly comfortably. She'll run into Osorio, which will be difficult, but I think that will be a slugfest. And then, you know, who's she going to meet? Siniakova, I think she's got the better of her. And I think perhaps, but she would be a 1-point win-only bet at 750. And if you are looking for a couple of outsiders to give you some money, run for your money in the top half, Tomljanovic and Volonets were my two who could pose a threat for each way bettors. But I think Maya Sherif will come through here and get to the final like she did last year in Rabat. Points to defend. A lot of people will just want us winner a tournament, get some practice in before they go to Paris. But I think Sheriff will want to go one better than she did last year, and I think it's going to be very hard for anyone to shoot her down this week at plus 750. Had to get it in.
Yeah, I did look at, well, I thought, you're looking at the odds, we can see the odds of Siniakova plus 550 favourite. Maya Joint, I thought, very short at plus 650. Anastasia Sevastova, $7. I mean, that's really short. I mean, she's only recently come back from a long-term injury.
Osorio's a big price at 16.
Osorio is a big price. I was surprised at that. And even Avanesian, I thought Avanesian would be one of the top two in the market, $9. Hailey Baptiste is a player I really like. She gave Svitolina a real scare in Rome, but then she didn't do so well in the Challenger tournament in Paris this week just gone. She went out to Varvara Gracheva in her second match. So that puts me off a bit. I mean, Baptiste, definitely one to watch on quicker surfaces. Grab has been doing good stuff on the ITF tour, but not really back to her best, I don't think. Buzas Monero was the player that interested me most in the bottom half, and partly because I picked Sheriff for Madrid and Buzas Monero beat Sheriff in Madrid. Now, obviously, the conditions are a lot slower here, which should help Sheriff, as you say. But Buzas Monero, up against Maria Matias first up. If memory serves, I think Matias had match point against Osorio in Bogota before Osorio went on to win the tournament. Definitely had a chance to win that. And then it's either Sheriff or Roos. And I think Sheriff against Buzas Monero is a difficult one to call, obviously with the Spaniard winning in Madrid. Then it's Osorio in the quarterfinals, Siniakova in the semis, and I'm not sure you can really trust Siniakova in a tournament like this. But even, as you say, just some of the odds are just a bit weird. Even Volinets at $22 looks quite a good big price.
Well, she's got a tough opener. I mean, she's underdog in her opening match against Anne Lee, or Leanne, whichever way you pronounce it. Kate, so she's an underdog there, so she's that's probably why. But if she can get through that match, I think she can go all the way. But the market's taken up by this very, very heavy rating of Joint. I mean, Volinets with Joint is a match. I think that'll be a lot closer than the betting than what the outright markets would suggest here. I think Joint is far, far too short. I think Avanesian is someone I wouldn't want to bet at the short price either. So I do believe that Volinets could go on a deep run, but she's got to get past that first round match.
Yeah, that is the tricky one. So what are we going for? So Sheriff, you're going for a point win.
Yeah, I'm just going to go for a point win Sheriff at plus 750. I don't like really betting these sort of single figure prices in a tournament like this, especially with the record of so many unseeded players coming through. But I think every box is ticked here for her. Conditions, her clay court form, the fact that she got to the final here last year, points to defend. A lot of people taking it a little bit easy, especially not people in this event, because they're all people got absolutely no chance of winning the Roland Garros. But I think there's a lot of boxes to like. There are a lot of things to like about Maya Sheriff this week, and I've seen her play before in slow conditions. I saw her playing in Hamburg, and the slower the better. And this is one of the slowest clay courts tournaments of the year, and I think the conditions will suit her as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to go in the same quarter. I'm going to go for Jessica Buzas Monero, half a point each way at $16. So hopefully
she'll also have a lot of support as well, won't she? She's an Egyptian girl playing in Morocco, the African crowd as well. She's going to have a big, big support for her as well, more than anybody else. So there's a lot to like about her. The only thing I sound a bit silly here, but the only thing I don't like about it, that I'm not that keen about, is the price. I was hoping to get about 10 to 1, but plus 750, I think we'll just have a little point win.
Yeah, well, hopefully Sheriff and Buzas Monero will meet again in the quarterfinals, and one of them will get through, and one of them will get through to the final. If it's Sheriff, hopefully she'll go all the way. But yeah, it's a tricky tournament. It's a tricky time of year. Always tricky the week before a slam, and hopefully we've pointed you in the direction of some picks. So that's it for this week from Betting Weekly WTA. But Nigel, obviously you've got Sean looking ahead to the men's tournaments as well this week.
Yeah, we're going to record a Betting Weekly game bet match a little bit later on. We got Betting Weekly Tennis Live Monday through to Wednesday. We got the hardball, the baseball, and the basketball as well. The shows with Doug Kazarian and all the teams stateside every day, Monday through to Friday. And exclusive news, we have a live betcast on Wednesday. We are going to do a live watch along on the Europa League final. Tottenham against Manchester United is over Where is it being played? It's being played. Oh, it's in Spain.
Bilbao.
It's in Bilbao. Yep. So we got a live watch along from that. With the information will be coming in the week, so study part. So watch all the in play. It's going to be with myself, Steve Wiss, and James Easton. So a live watch along for the big Europa League final as well. And the final day of the Premier League next Sunday, a week today, we have a final day betcast as well on that. All the matches in play, all the bets going in, and all the goals going in, and all the reactions to the in-play markets with Bet Rivers. So huge week. The football season might be ending, but the coverage here on the Betting Weekly Studios never stops, Rory.
It doesn't. And of course, next weekend, start of the French Open as well. So It is all happening in the world of sport. And of course, if you want all the best tips and all the best advice, Betting Weekly Studios is the place to be. Remember to follow us on social media. Give us your thoughts on these tournaments this week on the YouTube page below the line, and your comments, and obviously on social media at Because We Win. Nigel, thanks very much, mate. We'll
no problem. Take care, Rory.
Catch up again soon, and thanks for your company. Join us again next week. We'll be looking forward to the French Open on Betting Weekly WTA.